Hello, I'm Black Dragon, National President of the Black Sabbath Nation. Author of the book Prospects Bible, How to Prospect for a Traditional Motorcycle Club. You can get that at prospectsbible.com. Author of the book Prospects Bible for Women's Motorcycle Clubs. You can get that at prospectsbibleforwomen.com. And author of the book The Motorcycle Club Public Relations Officer's Bible. And you can get that at mcprosbible.com. You can get all my books from Amazon. I've got a lot more coming. Got a lot more subjects like Sergeant at Arms and Road Captain and so forth and so on. I've been doing this for about 27 years. Been a full patch brother of the Black Sabbath Nation all my adult life, and the national president for 7 years. And I asked, if you find my videos helpful, to please click the subscribe button and share them, and have your friends click the subscribe button as well. So thank you for tuning in. It's a beautiful Sunday afternoon. Walking Dead is going to come on tonight. It's going to be really cool. Football games are on, and wanted to take a few minutes to talk to you about one of my favorite subjects. That is the subject of the road captain. The road captain, the sergeant at arms. These people stay on their phones a lot. Can't even ride safely. Everybody's on their phones. But anyway, we're going to talk about the Sergeant at Arms and a lot of the neat things that the Sergeant at Arms does and what the Sergeant at Arms duties are, and how the Sergeant at Arms is really important in a traditional motorcycle club. So I thank you for tuning in, and I want you to know that in a traditional motorcycle club, we say a traditional motorcycle club. What we mean is a motorcycle club where, one, you are required to have, well, a traditional motorcycle club, as you know, operates by traditional MC protocol that for the United States is over 100 years old. And this protocol is what marks motorcycle clubs as the top of the food chain when you talk about motorcycle organizations. So number one, you can expect to see that everybody will be required to own a motorcycle before they can have membership. Two, they must be physically capable of riding that motorcycle, or there is some other level of membership for them, like maybe support crew or something like that. So you got to have a motorcycle, and you got to be able to ride it. In some clubs, you got to have a motorcycle license. In states that might require that. The third thing you're looking for is that members must prospect in order to be considered for the elitism of the brotherhood. So if you have a motorcycle organization that members don't have to prospect for, those are thought of more as riding clubs or riding social clubs. And a traditional motorcycle club has the element of brotherhood. And brotherhood cannot be bought. You can't buy your way into a brotherhood. You must earn your way in. And in a motorcycle club, you must probate in, be a probie, or on the West Coast, we call them prospects, where I come from. You have to prospect in. So this is what it takes to be a member of a traditional motorcycle club. Also, in a traditional motorcycle club, there are bylaws, and no member is above the bylaws, and all the bylaws are held in great esteem, because there are written bylaws that every member can have. If you don't have written bylaws, you're not in a traditional motorcycle club. And then also, the motorcycle club is run by a vote. A traditional motorcycle club is run by a vote. If you're not voting in your motorcycle club, you don't have bylaws, and you don't have to prospect to get in, and you can just pay money and you're right on in, and you're not in a traditional MC. And a traditional motorcycle club is thought of having 5 top offices, which would be the president, the vice president, the secretary, the sergeant at arms, and the road captain. Now, those are the 5 basic offices that you have to be thought of as being in a traditional motorcycle club. Some of you, I'm sure, have seen other offices like treasurer, business manager, public relations officer, ward chief, nomad, so forth and so on. These are other offices that can be within a club, but a traditional MC has those positions. So, as we've discussed what a traditional MC is, we're going to talk about the office of sergeant at arms, which falls, let's see, number 4 down in the chain of command. Let me count that. Let's see. So you have the president, the vice president, the secretary, and then the sergeant at arms. So the sergeant at arms is one of the most incredible jobs you could ever have. It's kind of like a journeyman, mid-level job. Most folks start off as road captains, something like that. Road captain is really a great job to express yourself and start to feel the respect and the responsibility of running men in a brotherhood and being counted upon for leadership. But the sergeant at arms is that unsung hero who is the most hardcore, hard-nosed, incredible officer of the bunch. The sergeant at arms is the savior of the MC, and also perhaps the most hated officer of the MC. So, in that he is the savior of the MC, the sergeant at arms is in charge of security of the MC. The sergeant at arms is in charge of the safety of the MC, where, as it relates to where the road captain is in charge of the safety of the club on the road, but the sergeant at arms is in charge of the physical safety of the MC, where it comes to physical safety. If there's some sort of a threat from an outside organization like another MC or other nefarious folks that might not be too friendly with your MC or enemies, the sergeant at arms keeps an eye on those folks and knows what's going on in the community. So also anything that might be happening in a spot where you're at, where 2 other MCs are not doing well with one another or whatever the case may be, the sergeant at arms has the call on the physical safety and security of the club, such as the sergeant at arms may say it's time to go, it's time to get the hell out of here. So that's all the sergeant at arms call. The sergeant at arms is also responsible for the good order and discipline. Let me over, Joker. The sergeant at arms is also responsible for the good order and discipline of the MC, in that he is responsible to ensure that all members, great and small, from the president down to the hang-arounds, follow the bylaws. And the sergeant at arms' responsibility is to make sure that no one, and I mean no one, is above the bylaws. So in that way, the sergeant at arms can be the most hated guy in the MC, because the sergeant at arms is responsible for ensuring that there is good order and discipline within the MC at all times. So let's take a little bit closer look interiorly at the sergeant at arms and kind of see what the sergeant at arms is responsible for. So one of the first things that first times people really see or recognize the sergeant at arms, or the power of the sergeant at arms, is when they're looking at this guy take charge in meetings. So one of the sergeant at arms duties is to ensure that all meetings are orderly and held in an orderly fashion. And a lot of sergeant at arms believe that they need the permission of the president or the committee to do their jobs. And a lot of sergeant at arms don't even really know what their jobs are. And one thing I always say is, No, when you have a job and you have duties, you don't need anyone to tell you when or how to exercise those duties. It's your job to exercise those duties to the best of your ability at all times. So when a sergeant at arms embarks upon his duties, he doesn't need a permission slip to do these duties. If a sergeant at arms hands out a fine, a sergeant at arms doesn't need permission to hand out that fine. Now, a sergeant at arms may have to take you to committee or take you to a special board to see if his fine will stick, but he doesn't have to have a mandate. His mandate is already given when he puts on the sergeant at arms patch and becomes the sergeant at arms by a vote of the club. But one of the first times we see a sergeant at arms is when a sergeant at arms is holding a meeting to order. And most meetings in the MC world are called to order under a set of rules called Robert's Rules of Order. And Robert's Rules of Order is a pretty fairly standard way by which to conduct meetings professionally so that everyone is heard and everyone gets a fair chance and the club's business can be handled. It's fairly standard in United States clubs to follow Robert's Rules of Order, and you can find them anywhere on the internet to see exactly how they go. A sergeant at arms should be a master at Robert's Rules of Order and know exactly how they work, because that's the standard by which most motorcycle club meetings are held. So this duty of the sergeant at arms to exercise by Robert's Rules of Order allows the MC to be run in an orderly fashion. So the sergeant at arms has the ability to hand out fines in the meeting, call the meeting to order, or call individuals within the meeting to order. And so this gives him a great deal of power, because in a meeting, the sergeant at arms can shut down anybody, and I do mean anybody. So if anyone's getting out of order in a meeting, yelling at each other, fighting each other, screaming at each other, the sergeant at arms has the responsibility to call that junk to an end. The sergeant at arms also would be responsible for meting out fines. If the president awards a fine, or maybe a committee awards a fine, or somebody's colors are taken, it's the sergeant at arms' responsibility to get those colors in a meeting or otherwise. The sergeant at arms can also deputize members to help them get those colors, because a sergeant at arms is the only person in the MC that has the authority to put his hands on another person in the MC. In a traditional MC, no one else can touch you. No one else can physically remove your colors or anything like that. Only the sergeant at arms can do that. But he can also deputize people to ensure that he has the manpower to carry such a thing out. The sergeant at arms will be responsible for ensuring that the club starts on time and that all the necessary people are there. The sergeant at arms may call roll, and the sergeant at arms may mete out fines if people are not at their appointed places or attending the meetings when they should be. So the sergeant at arms has a lot of responsibility in the meetings. If the meeting gets out of order, the sergeant at arms calls the meeting to order and insists that people will follow his lead, follow his rules, follow his edicts during that meeting, or they will be fined. Now, a sergeant at arms also, let's say the club's going out at night to some place. The sergeant at arms sets the tempo for what time we will arrive, what time we will get there and what time we will leave. The sergeant at arms will also set the tempo as to what constitutes an alarm and where the club should meet in case there's trouble, like maybe there's a shootout or something, where the club will meet to muster if everybody's got to get the hell out of there, or maybe there's a fire inside the clubhouse or inside the visiting club where you're going to be visiting. The sergeant at arms sets the stage, how you're going to every freaking time I try to have one of these things, somebody calls on the phone and interrupts it. I wish there was some sort of method I could use to shut the phone down when I'm doing a go live. Forgive me for that. I hope they don't call back to back like they sometimes do. But anyway, so the sergeant at arms will set the alarm code or the code word. In the Black Sabbath, we use a whistle. If you hear several short blasts of a whistle, you know that there's trouble somewhere at the event, and all Black Sabbath are supposed to go to a predetermined location to muster, so we make sure that we've got everybody, and then we get the hell out of there. Now, why, that was late. You could have told me that a while ago, sweetie. Okay, any more surprises for me? Which way, left? Anyway, so that might be your secret to or your code word to get to where you need to go. Muster, make sure no one's left behind, and then get the heck out of there. The sergeant at arms will also be responsible for the president's or the senior officer's safety while the MC is out on the road or out at an event. So if you have a national president that's coming through, the sergeant at arms will make sure that security guards, which are most often prospects, are assigned to the national officers, whoever the senior officer is. That senior officer will have an escort of between 1 and 6 prospects around them at all times, depending upon the type of club you're in, and depending upon the environment. If a senior member of a club is accosted, then the whole club looks bad. So a typical traditional MC that is operating makes sure that the senior member always has protection around no matter what. If it's just the senior member, like say the president, and he's got to go parlay with another motorcycle club, he never goes alone. It's the sergeant at arms' responsibility to ensure that he has safe passage if it's just him and the sergeant at arms. The sergeant at arms is responsible for the security of the senior officer. If it's the president, if it's the national president visiting, whatever the case may be, the sergeant at arms takes care of him. Make sure that there are prospects to handle him. Make sure that the doors are open for him. If he sets a drink down, the prospect picks it up, that sort of thing. The sergeant at arms ensures that the people are always covered. And in the case that he has a national officer present, then the sergeant at arms has 2 duties, because now he's got to make sure the national officer is protected, and he's got to make sure that the president is protected. Now, these are the duties of the sergeant at arms. The sergeant at arms makes sure that hostility between 2 MCs, if he has a hostility between him and MC and another, if there's going to be some sort of a peace treaty or something like that, the sergeant at arms will make sure that he's there. He's a part of that. He's there for any kind of parlay like that. But if there is no peace treaty, the sergeant at arms makes sure that he knows that the territory that the MC is traversing, and that he's ensuring that that territory, if that is territory of an unfriendly MC, that he has the necessary sentries posted, and or maybe something as simple as calling that MC to let them know that we'll be passing through. Anything like that, that's the sergeant at arms position. the security of the club. So the sergeant at arms also will ensure that, what, am I making it right here? The sergeant at arms will also ensure that here? Mm-hmm. Okay. This side? Oh, right there, I passed it. All right. So the sergeant at arms will also ensure that when necessary, the MC may need to get a pass to travel from area to area or state to state in a place where they may need permission to or a blessing to fly their colors through an area. This is something that the sergeant at arms will initiate and work out. Which way? Where are we going? Right here? This will be something that the sergeant at arms initiates and works out. So sergeant at arms has a lot of interesting responsibilities when it comes to the security of the MC. The sergeant at arms will make sure that the MC travels safely, moves safely, and gets along safely. The sergeant at arms will make sure that the MC has the appropriate officers in place and numbers. Let's say that you're going to go somewhere for a parlay, and you need to make sure that your numbers are right, so that the MC is fully protected and safe. So the sergeant at arms is the one that says, okay, we're going to have this many people here. They're going to be at this spot. They're going to be, in case something happens, this is how this will go down or that'll go down. Sergeant at arms has a lot of responsibilities when it comes to the security of the MC. Now, when we talk about security of personnel, I've had sergeant at arms who've told me, well, I follow what my president wants, and what my president wants is what I'll do. And I'm seeing I got messages. Good evening in Cali. Good evening, Easy Dog. Major Hog League says good topic. What does it take to become a sergeant at arms? Okay, we'll get to that in just a second. So when rats trying to get off my bike and just pulled off my headphones. Okay, I'm back. So when you're talking about inter-club duties, like what would a sergeant at arms do inside the club? Inside the club, a sergeant at arms may have the duty of maybe taking a member's colors, or making sure that a member pays a fine, or ensuring that a member turns his colors in the right way. And in many MCs, like my MC, if you cut your colors off your vest or your cut, you're done forever and ever. Amen. So if you are leaving the club for some reason, or you think that the club might not be right, or you want a leave of absence, or whatever your bailiwick is, the sergeant at arms' responsibility is to remove the colors off your vest, and not you. So that might be something that the sergeant at arms has to do. Just depends on your MC. But the sergeant at arms is responsible for inter-club discipline. So sergeant at arms in many ways has the power of a president. If you're out and you get in a fight, two guys, you attacking a civilian inside an MC, the sergeant at arms may grab you across the collar and say, hand me your cut, SOB, and I'll see your ass back at the clubhouse. If the sergeant at arms says that, then that's what it is. The sergeant at arms has power of the safety of the club and the reputation of the club. So if the reputation of the club is going to be tarnished by some activity that you participate in, the sergeant at arms' responsibility is to ensure that you are looking good and the MC is looking good. So the sergeant at arms may tell you in a heartbeat, hey buddy, you ain't cutting it, take off them rags, and we'll see you back at the clubhouse for your discipline. The sergeant at arms is also the person who will write up the charges on you. Somebody brings charges, the sergeant at arms will write up the charges and ensure that the charges are written correctly. And then the sergeant at arms will be responsible for making sure that the investigation goes fairly and safely and properly, and that it's according to the bylaws, because the sergeant at arms is the keeper of the bylaws. So sergeant at arms will make sure that those bylaws are properly enforced, because that is his job and that is his duty. So a lot of times the president thinks he's the one, but it's not the president, it's the sergeant at arms. And speaking of presidents, when it comes to enforcing the bylaws, the sergeant at arms actually trumps the president. You know, I've been fined by my own damn sergeant at arms. Yes, sir. And it was ugly. A war between the president and the sergeant at arms can be an ugly war. And I've had a few in my time, as I have been kind of arrogant, you know, in the beginning years. And I'm the president, you're not going to tell me what to do. Hey, buddy, you came to the meeting late. The fine is $25. I need your $25. I'm not giving you anything. Okay, make it 50. I'm not giving you anything. Okay, make it 75. I'm not giving you anything. Okay, make it 200. And if I got to take your butt to committee, I'll take it and I'll get my money and I'll suspend you, President, and I'll take your colors. What? And it's ugly, but those are his duties. So you never underestimate the power of a sergeant at arms. You know what I hate is I hate a sergeant at arms that was sergeant at arms yesterday and president tomorrow. I hate sergeant at arms that are president right after sergeant at arms, because they only know black and white. They don't really know politics too good. Sergeant at arms are not good politics people. Sergeant at arms are they're black and white people. Good evening, Dragon Smoke. Good to see you. Sergeant at arms are good policy people. They only know black and white. They only know the damn bylaws. They only know the rules. So when you take them and you turn them into presidents, oh my gosh, for a couple of years, your club is just like, if this guy. So sergeant at arms are strong. A weak sergeant at arms is one who cannot spot danger, cannot spot trends, cannot spot trending activities between motorcycle clubs, cannot see when the club needs safety. A bad sergeant at arms or a weak sergeant at arms is one that feels like he needs somebody else's permission to enforce his rules. That's a bad sergeant at arms. I once saw a sergeant at arms one time. A member showed up that hadn't been around for years. This guy showed up in his colors. And if the sergeant at arms didn't know him, and so, you know, a couple folks were like, well, who is that guy? Well, I don't know. Let's find out. The thing was this. If the sergeant at arms doesn't know you, then you got to come out those colors right now. Obviously, you haven't been around. You haven't been paying any dues. So an astute sergeant at arms is like all over it. He knows what's going on with his MC. He knows what's going on with his people. He knows what's going on with the security of the people. The sergeant at arms is the one that says, you know what? It's hot here. Let's go. The sergeant at arms is the one that says, you know what? We're having a good time here. We're going to stay a little longer. If the sergeant at arms tells you you've been drinking too much and you need to turn in your keys, that part. You've been drinking too much and you need to turn in your keys. If the road captain tells you you've been drinking too much, you need to turn in your keys, and you tell him to go jump in a lake, and then he goes and tells the sergeant at arms, you better be terrified. In a traditional MC, you're fixing to lose your colors for a little while. So the road captain is the president when the motorcycle club is on the road. The road captain has the ability to fine you and all those things like that. But the sergeant at arms is the muscle. The sergeant at arms is the muscle, the enforcer, the regulator of the MC. He's the one that tells you your uniform is not like it should be. This patch needs to come off and go over here. No patch goes on the back of our vest except for Black Sabbath MC. Take that Harley Davidson patch off the back of your vest. Hey, this patch right here that celebrates the life of the person you lost, that goes on the front of the back, not the back. All of these patches go here. That's what the sergeant at arms does. He makes sure that the uniforms are right. He makes sure that you are looking correctly. He makes sure that after you get off that motorcycle and the road captain turns the MC back over to the president, the sergeant at arms ensures that from that moment on, that the bylaws are being followed, that the MC is looking great, and that the MC is safe, the MC is being handled correctly, and that the members are safe, and also that the senior officers are being protected. Now, how do you become a sergeant at arms? Someone asked me. Okay, so number one to becoming a sergeant at arms is obtaining an incredible knowledge in depth of the club's bylaws. The sergeant at arms should be like a preacher. You know how preachers know the Bible, and imams know the Quran, and priests know the thing they know, and Jewish leaders, forget what they're called, know the, you know what I'm saying. So the sergeant at arms knows the bylaws just like that. He knows them like the front and the back of his hands. He can spit bylaws like he's spitting tobacco. He knows what's going on. So one of the first things to do to become a great person qualified to be a sergeant at arms is to have an understanding of the bylaws like no one's business, a study of the bylaws where you know them coming and going. The other thing is to have a good, solid grasp of motorcycle club protocol, to understand the protocol in your area. How are things done? How are clubs started? How are problems resolved? When you know that, and what is allowed to be worn where are the trouble spots, this, that, and the other. So you not only do you have a good grasp of protocol, but you have a good grasp of current events in your area and other areas. Between motorcycle clubs, between warring factions, know what the 1%ers are up to, know what the 99%ers are up to. So you got a good, strong, solid head of the current affairs, because knowing the current affairs lets you know, oh my gosh, we're at this party and that club just arrived and they ain't getting along with that one. Everybody knows it's time for Black Sabbath to go. But that's what the sergeant at arms does. He's responsible for all that. It's all his bailiwick. You got it? So the other thing at becoming a good sergeant at arms, not only knowing current events, is having a solid background or a solid affinity towards conflict resolution. You got two guys who aren't getting along well and they want to beat each other up. And the sergeant at arms' duty is not to rile things up. Yeah, get him, baby, knock him out. But rather to find a way for the club members to get along, to find a way for problems to be solved and for things to be resolved. So these are the things that the sergeant at arms does, and that's how you can become a good sergeant at arms. Another good way to become a good sergeant at arms is to become an assistant sergeant at arms, or take up under your sergeant at arms and ask him to begin to train you and show you those things that it is that he's doing, because a great sergeant at arms won't mind. Now, if you're a sergeant at arms and you really didn't get a good education about how to be a sergeant at arms, or you don't understand all the things, all the pieces, there are MCs around you. And these MCs, some of them are really great. Take up with those sergeant at arms. Ask them how they do their job. Ask them relevant questions when you have questions, so that you can get yourself some training. So anyway, that's my quick 30 minutes on being a sergeant at arms. And I'll talk about this subject a little bit more and get it a little bit more in depth and break it down some. But I just wanted to do that for you this Sunday afternoon. I appreciate you very much. If you like it, please hit the subscribe button and share my videos. And we love subscribers. It helps us out a great deal. And, check me out, Black Dragon National President, here on Facebook, but also, on YouTube. But also you can go to Facebook, John E. Bunch II, and I'm Black Dragon. And man, we just love to have you, and appreciate you tuning in, and all the emails and text messages that I get, and IMs, all that stuff is awesome. Hoping that we can get to your questions and concerns and try to answer about as much of that stuff as we can. We love riding. Nothing is greater than riding on two and the brotherhood that comes from being in the MC. And that's why I do this, because I love the MC and I love my brothers and sisters and folks who love this lifestyle. And it's crazy to me, but it's all over the globe. It's amazing. I get information from all over the globe. I want to shout out to the Bad Breed MC over there in oh my goodness, Romania. Bad Breed MC in Romania. Thank you guys for tuning in. We love you. Been looking at your YouTube channel and stuff, and been looking at your Facebook page, and you guys are awesome. Great riders. You guys take care. Love you very much, Black Dragon. And hold on, I got one more question here. Rob, thanks. You're welcome, bro. You're welcome. So that's it. Have a productive day and get skinny.